Happy Halloween, everybody. Erin and I and Jack are gonna cut. What we thought we'd do is work on shorter square layered shape. So building corners and stuff. Section the head off down the middle somewhat. And then from the back of the ear through the apex to the same place on the other side. The first thing that I want to do is I want to establish kind of an outline length. And then what I will do is I will use that length that it creates throughout the entire vertical dimension, and I'll find the desired length of the layer. So putting the outline in first gives me an idea of what I can do on the inside. I'd like people kind of get hung up on the it's not human. It's pretty close. It just doesn't talk back to you. So everything's being brought down onto that first section.
I can clearly see your guide, and I think that's an important aspect of it.
Yeah, you've got to be able to see what you're doing. So starting in the center back, vertical section down the center. Through here you can see all these different lengths. So I could use any one of those as a guide to layer the hair. But what I have to be careful of is the occipital is the most protruding part of the head shape vertically. So if I get the guide too low, by the time I reach the occipital area, it's too short. Remember the head turns in below the oblong, and it also turns in above the occipital. So I've got to be super careful of this area.
Do you feel like approaching it that way was like a sure way to protect your length? Starting it at the
oblong?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're protecting this, you know how short that's going to be, because then you're not got any surprises. When you start down here, sometimes you get up here, it's too short. And that's, even if that doesn't happen, by the time you get to the top, you've not allowed for all of this, and then this sits like that. So, you know, it's more of a cautionary thing, I feel. Now, generally, what I do with layers is I'll cut layers on the outside of my fingers, and that's all to do with elevation, because I'm lifting the hair to above. We're going to go shorter, so I'm closer to the head shape. The only problem with working on the outside is it's very difficult to keep things flat. So once the elbow drops, then it starts to get curved. And I'm not looking for a curve with this layer. I'm not looking to convex to follow the head shape. Like I have done on the layered bob, for example, I cut it this way, so I can get that curvature. Well, I want that weight in there now. I don't want to follow the head shape. I want this. I'm going to create a box throughout the haircut. Not just this way, but this way as well. So a complete box on the haircut. The inside's flatter, and it's easier when I'm closer to the head shape to work the inside of the fingers, whichever way. So that's how I'm going to approach it on the inside of the fingers. The thumb leads the way, and that means that my fingertips are going to point down on this side. So not the most desirable positioning for most hairdressers, and that's, I don't know why really, but it's kind of a mental block that we sometimes put with what we're doing, because it's the same as doing this. I still cut from fingertips to knuckles. I'm just switching elbows. And last time I checked, my elbows weighed the same, so it should be the same situation. So I will start around that O-bone area, so I know exactly what length that's going to be. Without pulling it too low. If I pull that too low, then that line's going to do this. Get heavier towards the crown, leaves too much weight. So I'm making sure I'm cutting a flat line. If I'm not so sure about that, then I will actually use the mirror. Again, I'm not stood in a place where I can really tell whether that line is flat or it's following the head shape. So you can see what that does is it leaves weight where the head turns in, just like it does up here. But what it does is this, stretches it that way. Next section, same thing. Vertical, straight up and straight down, I'm not pivoting. What I've got to think about is what's happening this way. I just physically cut that. So now I got to figure out what I want to do with this part of the haircut, this horizontal dimension. So I'm going to create a box. I'm going to create this salon that I'm studying. So it's a square basically, I mean. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull everything to the walls. So straight back. So combing the side of the section that I'm about to cut, not what I've already cut. If I comb that side, I'll move the hair this way. I'll actually cut it shorter and not longer. So I must make sure that I comb this side of the section. That's what I haven't cut, so I comb that.
And how about your body position?
So I'm just stood directly behind what I'm cutting. So in this case, my left foot and leg is right down the center. So I'm lined up with where that middle is. I'm slightly forward on this, and that's so I have that leverage to move and see what I'm cutting. Coming straight back, can you see that?
Yeah.
Pretty good angle, right? All the way down. I've now reached the natural round of the head, which is right there. You see the comb coming across, the head shape changes. It's very flat right here. So technically, this last section I've just done on the round of the head is now my guide. This is where you could condense, because it's stationary, you bring it to one place, you're not traveling anymore. So I'm going to send all of this straight back. And there's the guide. Keep in mind, guys, you're going to see it get heavier towards the front. That's because I've pulled everything back, so you can see this weight line dropping nice and clean all the way through there. So we're round. It's a dome, this head shape, right? We're literally putting a box over the top of it.
I don't want to be unnecessarily hunched over and uncomfortable. I'd rather
Right above.
just get in a position where I feel comfortable and clearly see the line.
Yeah, because if it's too low, then you're shaking. The legs are everywhere, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So now you can see where he's pulling that hair to. If you had no guide there too, it would be a lot more difficult, wouldn't it?
If you're going vertically all the way up, I would start this way.
Right.
Because my tendency is to kick out
That's
this way.
right.
Leaves you a little bit of insurance.
A bit of room to wiggle.
Definitely.
Yeah. So pulling straight back. Good question. What happens if you put the head forward? If you put the head forward and pull the hair back, that means that crown's going to be much longer than what you want it to. People don't walk around with their head tilted.
Plus, how are you going to...
Yeah, exactly.
Flat?
Yeah, if you push this forward and then you pull this back, you see how much heavier that crown's going to be?
It's no longer going to be...
It's not exactly...
You'll be dragging the hair down.
You're actually graduating the haircut at that point. I tend to keep them upright. That's kind of how you'll get balance and symmetry with people.
Now that I'm working this other side and you've done this side, I want to just I just want to see where I'm at.
Yeah, so you're going to give it a little cross check?
Yeah, just see after I've done 2 sections if I'm happy with the direction it's going.
There.
Yeah, so I would much rather see that early on than do the whole thing and
Yeah,
it goes off.
you waste all that time.
Yeah, there's the human component to this. It's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
There's variables. So for me, when I'm doing this in the salon setting, or even when I'm doing it right now, I'm always making sure this foot is right in line with that section.
Cool. I mean, the feet thing is really, really important, and it's really simple, guys. Everything's attached to your feet. Everything that you are is attached to your feet. So wherever you put them is going to change where you direct hair to, always, or where you lift it to. So be aware of where these things are when you're cutting hair.
And with each grab that I'm doing, I'm still keeping this planted. I'm not suddenly moving around doing this.
Yeah.
I tend to be a bit robotic when it comes to working square because I think it's important to really know where you're at.
Yeah, it's very robotic haircutting, I feel. So you can see that going flat down. So he's coming to that round of the head now. He's in the round of the head now. So you can see that direction straight back to the wall behind me and Erin. And now that he's there, he can condense that remaining segment, because from here forward, the head's flat. So there's no point in taking all these excess sections when you have a stationary guideline.
Another aspect of what I like to try and tune into is what my fingers are actually doing and whether it mirrors what's happening with the section.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start twisting and pulling, and
Changes it all.
so that's so much of a reason of why we're kind of moving in this way. It's all to make it a little bit easier to have that consistency throughout.
Is he directing the round back or straight out? He's directing the hair straight back to that window. So everything's going straight back. Just like you would lift everything straight up to the ceiling, but the ceiling's over there now. So technically what he's doing right now, he's doing a triangular layer because it's getting longer towards the front. And then what he's going to do after this, he's going to come through and flatten through here. So he's going to make it actually a square haircut, not triangular. Gino Souza, craft hairdresser. You guys are correct. Body position is vital. It is the physics that will make the geometry correct. Agreed.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So now when I come through the side and I put this flat square part through here, that pushes it this way. When those two meet, they'll create a corner right in that area.
You repositioned her so that she is sort of squared up with the room.
Exactly. So she is always, guys, if you look at the room that we're in, I've squared her off in the room. So she's not at an angle pointing to a corner in the room, you know what I mean? She's actually, the back is facing a wall, the front is facing a wall, the sides are facing a wall, the top is at the ceiling, right? So I can do this in one because of the density in the side is less than it is in the back. I know it's going to jump up after. And again, I'm just putting a flat line in. Keep in mind you can customize your outline afterwards always, so don't think that it's just going to look like this all the time.
Plus what you put on top of that is going to alter.
Exactly, you've got to remember I've got to layer this after. But then it's also wet. Wait till it's dry and then you see, you know, what it looks like. So now I've got to establish the length through here, the layers. So like this part of it. So it needs to be the same as this. So what I'll do is I'll cut the side the same length that we have here. If I cut it longer or shorter, it's going to change where those corners end up, right? That corner right there. So if I take the top, the front too short, that corner's going to move back, right? If it's too long, it's going to be too far forward. So I've got to get it in the right place. Now, I started at the most protruding part of the head shape in the back, right? Both vertically and horizontally. Same place in the side is here. Right where above, back behind the ear there. Just put your comb on the mannequin or your head. Everybody has these kind of common symmetries with bone structure. So just cutting a flat layer. I'll measure it up afterwards, but we'll just put this in for now.
Can you talk about why it's important to start at a point that protrudes the most, and why you wouldn't start at a spot where it has the recession?
Great question. So the head shape changes from this point. It goes that way. It goes that way. So it's kind of like I was talking before about not starting at the base, because you're moving up the head, and then when you get to the occipital, you might be too short. So if I started here, the head shape's going to round this way. So I'll put a length in here and think it's okay. By the time I get to here, it's too short. So you're better when you work in a square shape to start at the most protruding parts. It's like when you do layers on the top, when you're lifting everything up to the ceiling, you start in the middle. You don't start here.
Perfect.
So it's the same thing down here. So I'm looking at the length there, and we're even. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to take that now, and now I'm going to move that into the back. And guess where I'm going to send the hair now? I've already established this, now I want this. So I'm going to pull all this hair to that window behind me. Body position is a little different when I'm cutting this way, because if you notice now, fingertips pointing up. So I'm on more of an angle than I was on the other side, and that is because now I'm coming from the top down. Coming from the bottom up, you're more compact, you're more in your zone. Whereas once you want to come from the top, you need to physically see it. So I have to step over here so I can move this part of my body over, keep that there so I can direct it to the right place, and then do this. It is literally like playing Twister. So I was talking about section size earlier, and it's really key because I'm traveling through here. I'm bringing it to the to that window, to a wall right here. So if I take too big of a section that's bigger than my finger, either one that holds it, right? Like that one. So if it's bigger than that, then what happens is that section, when it gets pulled out, it gets directed into the middle of itself, into this. So if you do that, it's a mini version of what I'm actually trying to create. I'm trying to create a corner by pulling away from where the corner is. So if I take a giant section in my fingers, it's pulling away from something, it's going to create corners. And corners will weigh your haircut down if they're not in the right place, right? And usually what people do is they'll see a corner and they'll just cut it off. Well, look, I cut that corner off right there, I've now got 2. So 2 turns into 4, 4 turns into 8, and so on and so on. So you've got to be really, cautious of section size sometimes, depending on what you're doing. If it's a stationary guideline, then that section size can be as big as you want it to be, as long as you can see the guide. Haircuts. Understanding why these little things happen. Still bringing the hair to the window.
Her question is for students who easily get too short around the crest area and crown, what do you think about starting at the top of the head to avoid that?
Same situation. You can start at the top and cut the layers in, no problem. Doesn't make any difference. Like I said, I could start this haircut anywhere. I could start it here, where I am now. I didn't have to start there. So I just chose to start it in the back because there's so much more hair there. I get that out of the way, and then I can go into the weaker areas, the sides. To avoid that crown situation, I would start more here. Always start with the most protruding part because the head shape changes from that point. So I'd start where I did, right there, and then you can build off that and build down if you need to. See, that line doesn't always need to be like that. You can make it like that depending on density, right? And if you wanted a longer, softer outline. So if you start here, you've got more options with the rest of it.
I think it's important too, just to establish an area that's really important to you and get that dialed in, having that control around it.
Yeah, it's when it's square, it means you can start in many more places. Than round, it has to start in the front. Generally, triangle has to start in the back. But square, it can start here, because that's the most protruding part there. It can start here, that's the most protruding part. It can start here, right? So you've got all these peaks and places to do it. I'd say do them all, try and find your comfort zone in how you establish these shapes.
Looks good.
Nice, clean, solid corner at the round of the head. Very important that it's at the right place, right there. Didn't want to be here. Cool, so a nice strong corner. So that means I've got this and I've got this. I've now got to finish putting this wall through here. So I have to switch positioning now because I'm moving towards the front, so this is going to be useless to me. What does happen if you try and do it this way is you'll then do this instead of that. Right? This is where you get more control. Once you do this, it literally shortens your arms to this length. So you are now a T-Rex trying to do all this stuff. Right? And what will tend to happen is you won't do it right and you'll move your guide. And if your guide moves, you'll then become shorter. Again, it's coming over to this wall right here. So I'm stood right in front of it, looking down the section so I can see exactly where it's being pulled to. Keep in mind that as soon as you put the comb in the hair, you over direct it. Every single time. So make sure that you overcompensate or compensate and bring it back to where it needs to be. If you did over direct, it would mean you get longer. That's not really a mistake.
And when you're in this position, are you continually like checking in the mirror to see your finger angle?
Yeah, just to make sure.
I think the mirror is great because it really shows you what you can't see otherwise.
So true, when you look at things, it's two-dimensional in haircutting. I can only see that if I look in the mirror, right? So the only thing I can see this way is where I'm directing the hair to. You know what I mean? I can see this line in my hand, but I can't see whether it's doing that or that. I can't see the depth of it.
Mm-hmm. I have a good question. He says, why in this case did you decide to work horizontally rather than vertically? But I think flip-flop it.
Okay, yeah, so I'm working vertically just to tell you that, because this is up and down. Vertical's always going to be up and down. Horizontal is going to be this way. So I chose not to cut it horizontally because it's really difficult to layer horizontally. It's very easy to pull the hair down and graduate horizontally. Alright? It's very easy to pull the hair up and work horizontally and layer it the opposite way. But when you're working closer to the head shape like this, it's much better to come through with vertical so that you can build that horizontal shape.
Perfect.
I think what you have to do is understand what is vertical and what is horizontal, and a lot of people are confused on that in our industry because of how people have taught it. For example, a lot of people think that this is horizontal because of the horizon. The horizon has zero to do with your haircut. It's all head, right, in relation to the floor. So this is horizontal. This is horizontal, right? This is vertical, up and down, just like this post, this beam, right? Same thing, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So once you start to understand that, then you can start to get how to pull hair in different places to create things. So now we have this front area, and obviously I've not come through the top yet. Right, and what I don't want to do is I don't want a layer like that through the top, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I want to leave something back in this crown area. So I'm actually going to cut it more like this. So the shape on the top is going to get longer towards the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work vertical sections up and down, right? Might look horizontal to me this way, but again, horizontal horizon has nothing to do with it. So now taking this, lifting this up towards the ceiling, straight out 90 degrees, right? But that way. And I'm going to go from recision across to the other recision. Well, to the middle, because you'll do that. And what this is going to do is it's going to give us bangs. Or fringe, in my language.
Since you worked from that recision, you're not creating a hole because you're working from the most shallow point.
I'm working from the parietal, right? We've already established this. Now I'm taking this little corner off because by pulling everything over here, I've got a giant corner down the middle right now. I don't really want that all the way. I want it more back here than I do down here. So there it is. So that, again, I'm creating another corner right where the parietal is, just like it would be in a box.
I think the practice is such an important key because you have years of experience in knowing what you want to create, but it took making some mistakes, breaking some eggs.
Squares are really difficult. Putting square on round is really, really tricky. It's not the easiest thing to do. So, you know, it is practice. And then once I became a teacher, then it was even more, you know, practicing and breaking it down and seeing which was an easier way or what didn't work. That's one side done. So Erin's going to do this side now, and I'm going to kind of coach him through it a little bit. Did you hear my singing in the videos this weekend, Jesse? So putting the length in the sides now. So your side panel, just pulling that down. And I use the earlobe. I just put the comb right at the earlobe. All right, so right there, central, right where the ear is.
And in a salon setting, I would come back over to this side.
And get that out of the way.
And I would literally just start looking.
Get a feel for it.
Get a feel for it, of course.
I use the length.
So you build.
Yeah, because really what I was looking at, guys, was the fact that this here is the length of right here. Okay, so it's the hairline. Right, so the hairline is in direct line with the occipital bone. So the length of the occipital bone should be the same as the length of the hairline. So you pull it out from the occipital, about that much. That's about the earlobe. Okay. And then that gives you the length to cut off up there. I'll let you check it. You balance it, Erin.
I talked to a lot of stylists who, they seem reluctant to use the mirror, because going back to what you were kind of saying earlier, like when you've made a mistake and your client kind of picks up on it and they're looking at you and they're like, what are they looking for? What are they looking for? But I just chalk it up to, it's like you're doing your job and this is here for you.
Yeah.
Way more than it's there for them.
Yeah.
So if I need to really work out balance and get my fingers in it, I'll just ask them to close their eyes. Can you just close your eyes? Because I'm going to be stood in front of them. I'm going to be really like trying to dial it in.
That's a good one. I don't think I've ever told a client to close their eyes unless it was like the fringe or...
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And they smile. Like they just think, oh, this is going to be this kind of funny because it's less awkward.
Right.
If someone stood directly in front of you.
And they're staring at you? Yeah.
It's
It's too much. It's like the dentist. Okay, what's another option to find the guide on that side? There is no other option. It's pretty common sense that he's starting on a different side, so you can't use a clue or a guide from the other side. You start longer like he's doing and you work down to shorter.
This is what I like when you do, the face you make when you're like...
Yeah.
Because not only are we like so wanting to like grab the hair and tug on it, but we're also stretching it.
Yeah.
And hair doesn't live out here.
Nope, never does.
I don't think there's anything wrong with like feeling it a little bit.
Get a ballpark idea.
But to like get a ruler out, like, okay.
Yeah, no protractors, no rulers.
What if the head is a little more depressed on this side? Then, there's like so many aspects.
Exactly, and that's the thing that I obviously as a teacher trying to get people to understand that, because they don't usually get that by themselves. They're conditioned to touch and feel the hair. Guys, when you look at someone, let's say you're in the grocery store and you're walking down the aisle, you see the balance of that person's layers is off. You don't go up to them and start measuring it. You know what I mean? A balance is a visual thing. It's step back and have a look. Because yes, the head shape can be different on one side than it can on the other, and that means that the hair technically has to be longer on one side than the other.
This is another thing, and I've done it before too, but when you're looking at something and you're like on a tilt, just look at it straight.
Yeah.
Look at it straight on.
Exactly.
Make it easier.
Like when you're cutting a one length line and you do it like this, like you're never going to see that line level because you're sideways. So again, using the room that we're in, it's a box that we're in. You're usually in a square box-ish, so we're just sending all the hair to those places. So right now, Erin's just going to send all this hair just like he did the back, right behind him. Not to the center. If you brought everything into that first one, then it's not really going to be a flat line. It's going to be more of a curved line horizontally. So again, guys, if you're just joining us, you will be able to watch this tutorial from the beginning. But we are doing a short square layer. Something a little different to the usual bobs that we do. Now a little cross check right there. Bam. Good job.
And I mean, for me, I know I have a tendency to run longer when I do this.
Right.
On this particular aspect. So I'm always trying to like be a bit more dialed in with how I approach it, where I'm actually sending the hair to, and that's just something that comes with practice.
You know what brings that out in me is the fact that you're working on the inside of your fingers, so you're more aware of, whoa, I got to put that elbow in the air.
Yeah.
Now I got to drop it more. Yeah, it's a much more precise haircut, and it brings it out in you, I feel. So now we're going to show you the corner, because Aaron's just come through this vertical, 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 over directed it to the wall. He's already done this one, so where they meet, there should be a corner. Ready? Here it comes. There it is. Awesome.
That's fun.
Isn't it, when you find it and it's in the right place?
Absolutely.
Cool.
And I think, speaking in terms of your clients and who square works for, it's so important if somebody's like very narrow and compressed and you want to build out something that's stronger, you need something like square. It can be just a circular chopped into
No.
mass. It needs
Structure. It needs a balance. That's what square does, is it adds a balance to a rounder surface that it's working on. And now he's into the sides.
So always looking down at my feet again, making sure I'm in the right spot. It can seem redundant, but these are the type of aspects of haircutting that really stand out to me because they make the difference in those details. You know,
It's the
just
stuff.
being aware of it.
It's that stuff that you get annoyed with your teachers saying all the time. But to be honest with you, it is. It's those little things. They're the fine-tuning parts of haircutting. All the other stuff's easy. You just pull away from what you want to keep. It's all the little bits in between to make it stick together. That is the more important stuff.
I think a word that commonly comes from you that really resonated with me is suitability.
Yeah.
You could do a perfect haircut, but it needs to be right for your client. It needs to be right for the individual.
Yeah.
It's not perfect to them if you're just doing what you want. So it's kind of finding the balance of what's going to be complementary to them. And that's why working in terms of shape and design is so effective when you understand all the components of what you're doing.
You know, there's two forms of suitability. There's the balance suitability, that it's balanced with bone structure, head shape, it looks good on the body, it doesn't make you look short or too tall, big or too skinny. There's all that stuff, right? The kind of psychology in haircutting that comes with it. But there's also that other stuff where I also hear you when you're talking to your models and your clients. You spend quite a bit of time on what's their lifestyle. What do they do with their hair? Old school like consultation stuff that people somehow have forgotten. You're like really regimented with that it's like, okay, so what do you do? How much time do you spend on your hair? You know, these are things that I knew about, but I'd forgotten. I'd stopped using, you know, so it's really cool to see that there's, because me and Ira were going on about suitability the other day, how like, sometimes it's a pain in the ass when people say suitability. And I think we're not meaning if it's creative or if one side's shorter than the other. That's not what we're meaning by that's not suitable. Suitable is more of a bone structure. It's balanced. Because you can do something that's, you know, pretty wicked and it's not suitable because it's not balanced.
Totally, and it's like maybe you didn't ask the right type of questions.
Yeah.
For me, when I have like a new client sit in my chair, I'll just simply ask, the first thing I'll say to them is just tell me a little bit about yourself. Because it kind of puts someone in a different frame of mind rather than like, let me grab the picture that I pulled up from Pinterest. It like makes them actually tap into their personality, what they want to present to me, and that in turn gives me ideas of what's going to be suitable.
Yeah, you're kind of like identifying themselves for them. They think that they can get anything based on the picture, but then you're going to tell them, well, do you have time to do this, and this? It's like the pumpkin meme today that Hairbrain popped out with the color. If you want this color, you're going to have to be this color for a while. It doesn't go to this, you know what I mean?
It's like we constantly are bursting bubbles.
Yeah, you have to have these consultations. You've got to give people the right expectations. All right, so now working the front. Hope you guys have enjoyed this one. It's been a lot of fun. He's now coming through the top and going to work from what I've got on one side to the other. And you see what happened then? As soon as you switch to the outside of your fingers, you're able to elevate it to the right place.
Right.
Whereas when you had it on the inside, do it again, you want to pull it down.
Mm-hmm.
So again, outside, inside changes things. So again, if you're just joining us, just doing a play on old school, short, classic square layers. A variation.
And then you brought everything
Forward onto that.
everything onto number one.
Yeah, because I didn't want to layer the top too much this way, so I chose to leave more weight in the crown. So again, it doesn't get too short at this peak, the apex.
Okay.
Just a modern spin on something that's, you know, old school. Here's Johnny.
Do you see the words?
It's all of him, right? All work and no play, Big Jack. So good.
So always making sure I'm combing the side that I'm about to cut, combing towards myself.
Cool. So let's look. So obviously nice, shorter, layered shape. We left a little bit more weight in the crown area. I mean, that's obviously by choice. You could come through, not use as much over direction. You can come through it this way, take out the appropriate weight that you want to. It's entirely up to you. It's just a basis kind of a shape. It's a fundamental. It's a longer version, but square layers is square layers. You can do it on long hair and it'll be the same thing. Doesn't matter whether it's out here or whether it's here. So obviously this was done before I did it in class, and you can see the squareness of the shape, the boxiness of it. I did choose to leave this one heavier, just having more density to it, and then finish through, point cut, all that good stuff. Work the perimeter and the outline how you want to. Again, that's entirely up to you. It's choice, you know.
I think the great thing too is what we were talking about with men's haircutting, because you can apply so much of what we just did into a classic men's haircut.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
cool.
But thanks for joining us, guys. We'll do some more of these things. Obviously, we had time to do it today, so that's why we popped one in for you. Hope it wasn't too scary for Halloween. And,
Only for me.
It wasn't. And it'll be up on my Instagram. I'll also put this on my IGTV. And thank you very much. Come and see us again.
Cool.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks for watching.